Hello campers, hope you're having a wonderful weekend so far. What we're going to do with the paracord that I sent out, so this lovely stuff, we are going to be making a paracord keychain. So that's what this black and red one here is. And if you can see, it matches very nicely with our scars. That wasn't an accident, we did that on purpose. So what we're going to be making today are slightly longer, slightly tidier versions of this. So here's some instructions for you. Okay guys, so for this, the first thing you need to do, and the dog is optional by the way, you don't have to have a dog there, it does help, but she isn't going to be giving us any tips. First thing you want to do is get your key ring and put it on both bits of rope, both bits of paracord that you've got here, and you need it to be in the middle. So find the middle of your paracord. There we go, so that's now in the middle. Lay that down on the table, and what you want to do is you want to make a cross with your paracord. So going up and then going across, just like that. So that your one going across is on top of the one going up and down. See if you can see there. The red is underneath the black one there, and the ring is around both pieces still. Okay. So once we're there, you then pick up the bottom bit of red and you fold that up. So it looks a bit like that. And then you get from the left, the black piece, and fold that across. And then the other bit of red from the top, not the bit that we moved from the bottom, this is the piece that was always at the top, and we fold that down. And then we get our final piece of black that we haven't moved yet, and we fold that across. But the final thing we want to do with the end of this is poke it through the hole that we made there with that very first red one. And what we should see if we can get you a better shot of this, is a shape that looks a bit like, well, exactly like this. Okay, so that is the start of our box knot. And if we gradually pull each one at the same time, doing this on a table helps because you can just kind of stroke it down and stroke it outwards and then pull the knots tight, you should see a pretty neat knot. There you go, how cool is that? So that's the first step done. We're going to keep doing that until we have run out of paracord. So we'll go for another couple of layers. So again, we're just going to get our bottom one first, but this time we're going to go in the opposite direction. The first knot we go clockwise, and the second one we're going to go anti-clockwise. So I've moved the first piece up, second piece goes on from the right now, and then from the top move that one down, and then from the left, and again the same as when we did it the first time around, we get the end, we go over the red hill and then under that second red hill, and that should then give us that same wonderful little pattern that we saw a moment ago. Okay, so we're just going to keep doing that until we run out of paracord. I'll just do it once more just to demonstrate, and then I'm going to stop recording and I'm going to skip ahead and do all of them, and then I'll come back. So that's nice and tight. This is really important guys when you're doing this, to make sure that you've got your knot nice and tight here, because if you don't do this tight enough, A, you won't get very many knots in here, and B, it will start to come apart quite easily and it will get all floppy. So it's important that you get these nice and tight. What I like to do is just go around one at a time and hold the opposite colour and then pull one really tight, and then just keep going round the square, and do this a couple of times so you can make sure that everything's nice and tight there. There we go, and that's done. So now we are going to go clockwise again. So we're going to start at the bottom and go up, and then we're going to go from the left and then across, and then from the top down, and then from the right across, and guess where this piece is going to go? That's it, right through that little loop we made with the first one of red. So as you can probably tell by now, we're just alternating the directions we start from. Always start with the bottom one and then alternate the direction we go. So we've just done this clockwise, so the next one is going to be anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. I don't know why it's not non-clockwise. It's just anti or counterclockwise. Anyway, I'm rambling. So let's get this nice and tight. Okay, there we go. That will do for that. Nice and tight there. So you can see our square knot now, they're starting to stack up on top of each other. So this is how we get to having a much longer one. Now the ones that we're making here, there's twice as much rope for this as there is for this one here. So it'll end up being about this big, which is a great size for a keyring. So this one, again, we're starting at the bottom now, and we've just gone clockwise. So this time we're going to go anti-clockwise. So one from the right, and then the next one from the top, and then the next one from the bottom. And tucked the bottom one underneath the first loop that we made with the red. There you go, just like that. So I'm going to stop now, and I'm going to skip ahead and get the rest of this done. And as if by magic, in just a second, you'll see it completely completed. Okay, and we're back. And as you can see, I've magically turned the dog into a Dylan. But also, I've added a few more knots onto this. Now, what I wanted to show you is you don't have to leave it on the table while you're doing this. Once you've got it to a decent length like that, you can just hold it in your hand and just let the strands of paracord just hang over your hands like this. And then what you might find is a little bit of a quicker way to do it is then just holding it in your hand, just go around each cord one at a time and then post it through. And you should find that once you get to this stage, you start to put this together quite quickly now, and it should only take a few seconds really to do each one, and then you'll find that tightening it probably takes more time. But once it's tight, you're already holding it, and then you can just get straight back into creating the knot. There you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Tuck that one through, and then tighten it up. As you can see, Dylan's very interested in this. I promise you that is the real Dylan, not a statue of Dylan. There we go, he's laughing there. Okay. I'll be back in a minute when I've got some more of this done. Okay, campers, you should be able to see now that your keyring is taking shape. So this one's looking pretty good now. You might notice that some of your ends are different lengths. Don't worry, it's not a competition. It just means that you might not have put it exactly in the centre, and that's not really the end of the world. Also, the eagle-eyed among you may have noticed that the Dylan that was sitting in the chair has magically turned into an Alana. So when we get to here, we've got one more. I've got enough rope on here now to do one more. So I'm going to start with the shorter of the two red ones. So I'll do the red one last. So sorry, I'm going to start with the shorter of the black ones. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. This is a bit fiddly, so you might not see this very easily, but you'll have one in your hand by this point, so hopefully you should be able to follow along. And then just poke that through that very first black loop that we made, and the whole thing's popped out. Don't worry, that will happen. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, and then get that nice long red one to poke through that first loop. This is a bit fiddly. You might want your grown-ups to help you with this. And then just like we have done with all of the other ones, we're just going to pull them nice and tight. And obviously these are not long enough now for us to get any more out of. So we need to trim the ends off. And then we need to melt them. So what I'd like you to do for this part, if you haven't got your adults to take over already, the cutting bit and the lighting bit, I'd like your adults to help you with. Scouts, you should be all right with this. Cubs and beavers, I'd like you to ask your adult if you need any help. Okay, just gonna get my knife and my lighter out. So I'm gonna use a pen knife. You can use a pair of scissors. You can use whatever you like to cut this. And you wanna cut them so they are about just a couple of millimeters beyond the edge. So I'm just going to cut that. I'm going to cut that very close there to the ends. Should have sharpened my knife before this. Please stand by. Okay, Two things have changed in this picture. If anybody can tell me what they are in the comments, I'll deliver a prize to your house after camp. So I'm just going to trim these ends down now, just so that we've got some shorter ends to melt. And then we're going to grab a lighter and just melt the ends of the paracord. So again, be very careful when you're doing this. This is a plastic based cord, so it will melt and it will get very, very hot. I like to use the end of the lighter just to press against it, just to flatten it off. Once it's been melted, and that just ensures that everything there has welded together. So that shouldn't ever come loose. There you go, and that's cooled down already. And that's it. Beavers, Cubs and Scouts, we have just made a third Worthing quarantine keyring. Hope you enjoyed this, guys, and I'd love to see your creations, so make sure you send me some photos. And if you get stuck at any point in this, do give me a shout and I'll see if I can help you. See you soon, guys.